Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to go over some more stuff which is happening in War Thunder in the future. There is a bunch of cool things, including what looks like a new Moments of Valor, and also a bunch of new decals which have been added to the game for the monthly decals for October. So in this video, we're going to go over both of them, go over what is going to be available in the future, what it's probably going to look like, and also have a look at the decals now and how to grind them out. As always, thank you for watching the videos, and if you enjoy them, make sure to subscribe and also like them. Let's get started. So the first piece of news comes from the data mines, and it turns out there is a bunch of Spanish camos which have been added to the files. This kind of shows that there's probably going to be a Moments of Valor Spain coming in, which is actually pretty cool. Spain as a nation has a bunch of really interesting vehicles, and some of them are actually represented in War Thunder. We have the VRCC, for example, the Centauro, but also many others that have turned up. Spain always felt to me like a really good sub-nation which would have some unique aircraft, especially post-World War II, where they had some pretty interesting vehicles which were kind of combinations or Frankenstein vehicles between certain designs and also other engines, and it would be nice to see them kind of represented in the game. The actual camos that are in the data mines, we have one for the BF109A-0 Flegels. This is the Spain 1936 camo, so that will be for the premium. They'll probably do some kind of discount with it. You also have one for the German Eurofighter, which has turned up. This is the C-1724. And then also, you have one for the F-104S CB, which is the Turkish F-104. So I'm guessing the good old TAF, which is in the Italian tech tree, so that'll probably be in the pack as well. That is the C-812 camo. The FA-18C early for Germany, also the Tiger Meat 2016 camo. That one is getting, and also the Mirage F1C200 gets the Tiger Meat 2012 camo too. And also, they don't just have aviation camos, there's a few other ones as well. So you have the BO-105 CB-2 with the first attack helicopter battalion camo, so you're even getting a heli camo. And then also, you have the VRCC Centauro Castelleiros camo, which actually looks pretty awesome as well. It's lovely to see more minor nation representation when it comes to War Thunder, and if this is one of the ways that they do it, I'm always going to be happy to see it. For me personally, when it comes to War Thunder, and when it comes to just general stuff, I think it's awesome to see more and more nations represented, because we have so many different people who play the game from so many different areas of the world. For example, we've recently been talking about Singapore, right? And the idea, or the Gaijin's idea of adding it to the Chinese tech tree, and it's been, you know, adding a lot of kind of discussion around it and also aggression, which is kind of sad to see. But as we've talked about previously, there's always going to be barriers between them adding it into areas compared to other places. So for me, when I look at like a tech tree like Singapore or a sub-tech tree like Singapore, it gets so much animosity around it, at least when it comes to the Moments of Valor. There's no animosity, it's just some nice camos, it's just a bit of fun and a good representation of what is kind of going forward. Maybe we'll see more Spanish vehicles in the future, maybe we'll see more Spanish variants of things, which would be really cool. Spain as a place and generally as a set of people are pretty nice, and you know, I haven't really met what I'd class as a bad Spaniard, so nice to see them get represented. Another thing I would also like to say about the Singaporean stuff, ended up talking to a few of them yesterday, asking their opinion on things, and surprisingly, they actually said they would prefer for Singapore to be added to Israel, which, since, you know, Israel and Singapore actually do have some military ties and do cooperate in that way. And for me, I think that's kind of a win-win. Israel needs a sub-nation, it probably needs many to make their tech tree competitive, and Singapore can offer it. And also, you kind of get away from this whole Chinese issue, which is floating around. So why not? Screw it. Have a bit of fun with it, as always. So in War Thunder, they have brought back the monthly decals for good old October. You can find them here in the player profile at the bottom of monthly decals. And if you want to find the ones from last kind of month, basically they spread them around the different decals section. This will be going until the 7th of November. So you basically have a month in order to get all of these done and get them sorted. So let's have a look at which ones are here. Obviously, there are some returning ones, and then there are some which are new, which is quite fun. Basically, they do kind of like a half and half scenario. So half new, half returning. And generally, I think that's kind of cool. So the first one is the emblem of the 2nd Mine Countermeasures Squadron. This is a naval one for Britain, and all you got to do is get 20,000 damage to naval targets with using rank 3 and above vessel for Britain. That basically just means playing anything in the Blue Water or Coastal Fleet. Obviously, there is a lot of options here. 20,000 damage is really not a lot. Basically, a special task, I think, is 50 or 60,000 damage, like when it comes to Cannoneer. So all you got to do is just play some vehicles, and that'll be done very quickly. The next one is Serving the People inscription, and this is for China. What you got to do with this one is get 10 air-to-air kills with Chinese vehicles using anti-air missiles in a realistic or simulator, or 20 air-to-air missile kills in arcade, which generally shouldn't be too hard. Last time they had a Israeli one, which I ended up using the Kafir with, but yeah, this one shouldn't be too bad. There's a lot of air vehicles with China in pretty nice places, specifically stuff like the J7D that many people point out is in a fantastic place right now, but its standard tech tree equivalent, the J7E, is also in a fantastic place with its 4 PL5Bs, which are very, very powerful missiles. And then you also have a bunch of other options too. For example, the F5s, which are here, which don't rely as much on their missiles, but they're generally quite nice. You also have some of the higher tier stuff if you are more accustomed to it, unlike myself. You also have the F100A, which gets 4 AIM-9E Sidewinders at 9.3. This is actually really powerful for the vehicle, and also being the A platform, it actually turns better than the D platform. So technically this is the better version of the Super Sabre in the game. So this one's actually really fun to play too. Now, in terms of other decals, we have the Wekusta 5 emblem. This is for Germany. And once again, it's an air decal, and all you got to do is place in the team 1 to 3 with German vehicles. Now, if you aren't as confident with air events, so air realistic or air simulator, you can actually do this in ground or naval modes. You just have to finish the mission in a rank 3 or above air vehicle. So you can do all of the grinding in kind of the ground vehicles, and then just spawn in an air vehicle at the end, and it will actually count for you. Since you have a month to do this, this is going to, eventually happen, no matter which player you are. Even if you want to like ground pound with stuff like the DO335, you'll eventually get this done. It just might take a bit of time. And also, who doesn't want a frog with wings? I think this looks really cool at the end of the day. The next one is Israel. And what you have to do is play 20 missions with Israeli vehicles in ground. This is for the 421st Armor Brigade emblem. Generally shouldn't be too hard to get. You literally just have to grind the tech tree. Remember, Israel starts, I think, at rank 4, and that basically means that you can just grind this straight away. So just play the M51 and just play that area, and you'll get this without thinking. The next one is the emblem of the Värmland Infantry Regiment. It's just players defeated in Swedish ground vehicles, another standard grinding decal. So all you got to do is play rank 3 or above ground vehicles and just shoot people and destroy them. Simple as. There's plenty of very good vehicles in the Swedish tech tree. I would highly recommend playing through it. And yeah, you should use it as a general grinding decal, meaning just like going through and shooting stuff with all these types of things. If you want to go as low tier as possible, the M24DK is in a fantastic place for a standard vehicle and feels very nice to play. The next vehicle, the next decal is for air, and it's the first Rensei Hikotai emblem. So this is an air vehicle's Japan emblem. All you've really got to do is once again defeat players with rank 3 and above. You don't get multipliers for this one, so technically this is the easiest to do in Air Arcade if you really want to get it done quickly. but, you know, it doesn't really matter. It's just a general grinding one that you'll get through as you go. So, yeah, a realistic sim, even in ground or naval battles, as long as you're using air vehicles, you could play CAS, you could play, you know, close air support in terms of like destroying aircraft. You could do all of those things. It doesn't specify that you have to kill specific stuff. It only specifies what vehicles you actually have to use. The next one is the 8th Self-Propelled Artillery Brigade, 2nd Battalion of the 3rd Battery Emblem. What you have to do here is use tank destroyers for the USSR and get 40 destructions with them. The tanks, or the tank destroyers for the USSR, a lot of them got some pretty decent buffs more recently, better reloads and stuff like that. But as they go up, they usually get worse. I have spaded, I think, pretty much all of them in the tech tree. And the ones that I would say are worth focusing on in terms of using, the Su-85s are generally very fun. They have good guns for their BR, good mobility, and pretty decent reloads compared to what they had previously. You also have access to the 2S19M and all of the more kind of modern kind of SPHs like the 2S1 and the 2S3M. I generally say to stay away from these since they're not as easy to use as others. The Su-12254 is a fantastic vehicle, has the 122mm and has access to a bunch of really good rounds with it. So you have rounds for all different occasions, and also at 6.7, meaning that you can punch through a lot of the heavy armor that's around. The higher BR ones are pretty rough, but the IT one isn't too bad. Maybe you could use that for a bit, but generally I'd say the Su-85s and the Su-12254 would be the way to go for this. Then you have Guns Will Travel. This is once again players defeated. You have to use rank 3 and above ground vehicles for the USA, and you have to get air vehicles, so basically using SPAAs to destroy aircraft. Now, this one can be a little bit tough, but there are obviously certain vehicles that are very strong at destroying aircraft, mainly AAs, but just remember, you have to use rank 3 and above. I would actually recommend the Skink. There's been a lot of German CAS around 5.0 to 6.0 recently, and since the event's going on, a lot of people are using fighters and also just general aircraft to try and pump up their numbers, and the Skink can actually get a bunch of kills because of that. You obviously have the M247, which is amazing with the HEVT. You have the Claws system, which is fine at the moment in the game, and then also the XM246, which is more of a multi-role vehicle, but it's also incredibly good. You also have 50 cals on pretty much all of your mediums, lights, and heavies. The 50 cal, just even a single one, can do a lot of damage against aircraft and shouldn't be overlooked. So you should definitely think about that, and just kind of whenever you see a plane near you, just make sure to hit it with a 50 cal. It might crash and, you know, make it easy to do. Remember also in arcade, a lot of people spawn in planes and end up ramming them into the ground. So even if you get like 150 cal hit on them, they can actually count as a plane destroyed by you, which is quite nice. Then we have the Dusty Marking. So this is an AI killer one. I really like the big schnoz on this guy. So ground and water targets destroyed, 0 out of 30. So you only have to destroy 30. Air vehicles, France, Netherlands, rank 3. You do have to use rockets, though. So this is the kind of big thing. They did this for America in the last one too, so you can't use your guns. So something like the SB-25C, which would always be the one to go for, you can't use really for this one, since it does have, you know, rockets, but it just doesn't have a lot of them. It's much better to actually go a bit higher in the tech tree and use the AD4 or the F4U7. The F4U7 has 114 snebs, which is just insane. Can do a lot of damage in ground forces with them. And then also at the same time, if you want to kind of grind this out, but in air, you have stuff like the AD4 that you can take, which brings quite a lot of different rockets, and you can hit, you know, artillery or hit AAs and kill them in one hit with these things. I actually did the American decal of this in arcade and just kind of ran a full kind of strike aircraft lineup with a bunch of rockets, and it didn't take too long, and it's only 30, so it's really not going to take a long time at all. The last one is Al Colpo Sicuro Inscription. This is for Italy, and all you got to do is play rank 3 and above ground vehicles and grind out 15,000 mission score. So literally just play the game with the Italian tech tree and you'll be able to get this inscription. And more recently, they've added a few interesting things, such as the M55 to it. So that's a rank 3. So if you grind out researching this and then spading this, you can get it all done, which is kind of fun. If you want to play a better lineup, 9-3 is very strong for Italy and has been for a long time. And also it's a lot better during the mid-BRs nowadays at 6-0 and also 6-7. So it might be worth checking out those areas too. So that's all of the decals. Remember, you can attach them to your favorite area, and also with the event for tankers going on, you could actually use these decals to kind of grind through the event and not worry too much about it. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.